Welcome, everyone. I'm Dick Deming. I'm Medical Director of MercyOne Cancer Center and founder of Above and Beyond Cancer. Welcome to our Cancer Education Series, which is brought to you through support from Iowa Cancer Consortium. And welcome to our guest, Molly Zaver. Molly, welcome.
Thank you.
So Molly is from Central Iowa, grew up in Ankeny, and then went to the University of Iowa, where she studied business.
Yep.
Molly is currently vice president at Peoples, which is an ag land business brokerage, and we might talk a little bit about that. But Molly's here tonight because, 1.6 million Americans, she was diagnosed with cancer. So we'll talk a little bit about her cancer journey, but we're also going to talk about sort of the lemonade that has come out of the lemons. And Molly has founded an organization called Can Do Cancer, and we'll talk a bit about that as well. So welcome, Molly.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So Molly, what was your claim to fame in high school?
I don't think I had one.
Oh, you had to have. So what would your friends say your claim to fame was? So, okay, I'll give you some options. Like you were the quiet, studious bookworm. You
No.
were prom queen and cheerleader. You
No.
were like the star basketball player.
None.
You were in theater. You were
No.
in music.
No, I did play sports, but
okay.
I was not the star player.
Okay, but what was your best sport?
Probably basketball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Which I enjoyed, and I enjoyed track as well.
And how good was your high school in basketball when you were there?
So the problem, this is going to date myself, but the problem was I started playing 6-on-6.
Oh,
and
you
so
were in
our
the
team was very
transition.
good at 6-on-6. And then they
had to
changed us to
switch.
5-on-5. And that was really hard. So we were good, but we were not good when we switched to 5-on-5.
So what have you learned? What did you learn in sports in high school that you have translated into your cancer journey and life as vice president at Peoples?
Being a team member.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
None of us is as good as all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what have you learned from your cancer journey that has transferred to your success at Peoples?
I think cancer has taught me a lot of things. I think it taught me how to cope with stress a lot better. Learning that, don't worry about things that haven't happened, because if they do happen, you have plenty of time to worry about it then. But if you worry about it, about something that might happen, you're just kind of unnecessarily torturing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I think, coping with other life issues has been easier after having cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It also taught me to be giving. I had a lot of people who helped me during my journey, and I, at the beginning, didn't want any help. I'm independent, and I don't get sick. If I do feel ill, I usually keep going. So I was determined that I was going to go on just as normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the first chemo treatment, my mom had asked me if I wanted her to come over. And at first I said no. And so I had 6-year-old twins and an 8-year-old at the time. So I went for my first chemo treatment, came home, felt tired that Thursday evening. And then Friday morning, of course, at ages 6 and 8, they're ready to get up and eat breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And have mom fully functioning. And I didn't quite feel like fully functioning. So I got up and I tried to start breakfast, started feeling a little nauseous. And my mom called and asked, "Do you want me to come over?" And I said, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So thank goodness for my mom.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that. But if people didn't say yes to help, there'd be no reason for your organization.
Yeah. Honestly, after I got through treatment and looking at, there's a couple of key people that really helped me a lot. And just out of the generosity of their own heart. And so I think it really taught me to be more of a giving person.
Yeah. And it sounds like a person willing to accept as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's the
find,
way.
yeah,
That's the way the
you have to, which is hard. I fought it until I
uh-huh.
realized that I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
have some help.
that's the way the world goes around. Is you give help when you have the ability and capacity, but you accept help when you need it. So let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Where were you when someone said, "Molly, you have cancer"?
I was in my kitchen. I'll back up even before that. So, about a week and a half before I found out that I had cancer, it was a Saturday evening, late. My husband had told me that he was no longer in love with me, and so that was a gut blow there. And then a couple of days later, I had gone out running to kind of clear my head because I obviously had a lot on my mind. Um, and when I came back from running, I got into the shower and was not doing an exam or anything, just was washing with soap. And on the underside of my left breast, I felt a lump. And I instantly felt like it was not good. And it was fairly large. I was kind of like questioning, like, how could I not have found this before?
Mm-hmm.
So then I woke up on Thursday and called my doctor's office. Of course, he was in surgery all morning, but I left a message and they called me back early afternoon and they said, Dr. Badia said he'll see you this afternoon, come in at 3. So I went in at 3. He did an exam. I had just turned 35. So, he said, Molly, it's probably nothing, but, I do feel it as well. And we need to have it checked out. So we set up a mammogram and a biopsy for Friday. Went to get those conducted. And then, of course, the waiting period. Of course, on a Friday, you have to wait through the weekend. And honestly, waiting was very difficult for me. Not knowing, what I was dealing with, was hard. And so then earlier that next week, then they were going to call me and let me know what the outcome was. And my mom had come over and was with me when she called to tell me that I had invasive ductal carcinoma and that I needed to set up appointments with an oncologist and a surgeon. And boy, did life change
Mm-hmm.
from that
So you
day
got
on.
the news over the phone.
I did.
And at the time you got the news, you probably weren't also given a day and a time for the next appointment.
No,
So you were
you
just
wait.
like,
You could wait
you
on
have
that too.
cancer, and we'll see if we can't get something going.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of waiting at the very beginning of cancer, which is just a part of it, but it is rough. And your mind wanders so much during that time frame. Just not knowing what's going to happen to you. The people that I had known that had breast cancer, one was a gal that I worked with, and she was around my age, and she actually lived through cancer. But my mom had a friend that had cancer when I was growing up, or I think it was I was young, that had passed away. So I didn't know whether
You're told you have cancer. I mean, you instantly think, "Oh my God, I'm going to die."
Exactly.
So how do you've got 2 twin 6-year-olds and an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's kind of at that age hard to just sort of bluntly share the facts. And but I'm sure they see mom in a state of shock, if not tears.
Yeah.
How did you?
We told them that, mom was sick and that I was going to be getting some treatments that were not going to make me feel well. And, they at 6 and 8, I just think that they really, didn't know. In fact, several years after that, one of my daughters said, Mom, can you die from cancer? And I said, yes. And she's like, well, I'm glad that you didn't.
They are so resilient.
So I think it was probably good that they were so young because they probably didn't understand the magnitude of what the outcome could have been.
Yeah. Sorry you're sick, Mom, but can you make supper?
Right.
I'm hungry.
Can you put my hair in a ponytail and whatever?
So maybe just briefly talk about your cancer journey. And then what I really want to get into is the aftermath, sort of the lessons learned and how your cancer journey led you to create the organization that you lead.
Sure. So I finally did get in with my oncologist. There was, again, waiting period there because I was potentially going to get into a trial. So went through those hoops, and then ultimately started chemo. I
So
was supposed to
chemo
actually.
before surgery.
Well, actually, no. I had. I take that. Yeah, sorry.
That's
It's
okay.
been 11
That's
years
okay.
actually. So I did have the surgery and then had chemo.
Okay.
And then I had 16 rounds of chemo. Mine was triple negative, so I don't have any of the hormone factors. So they told me that chemo is my only option. If chemo doesn't work, we don't have another option for you. So fingers crossed that the chemo works. And so I did the 16 rounds of chemo and got through that. Several people, like I said, helped me along the way. I had one of my neighbors brought me dinner. I think it was my second chemo. And I think she realized how wonderful that was for me to be able to go to chemo and then go home and not have to worry about what my family was going to eat for dinner that evening. And so she started bringing me dinner on every time that I had chemo. And it was so wonderful because I didn't have to worry about anything other than getting through treatment. And then I could go home and just rest that evening. And in fact, one week she was out of town and she arranged for her sister to bring me dinner. Even then. So,
Yeah.
So after I got through treatment, I think everything happens so quickly you don't even really have time to process everything that's happening to you.
What was the time frame from the you have cancer to the last chemo?
I was diagnosed in May, started chemo in June, and finished in November.
So about 6 months from the time of
Yeah.
diagnosis to being done with treatment.
Right. So it was chaos, just all the learning the cancer language. And
How many years ago was that?
That was in 2011.
Okay, so we're talking 11 years ago.
Yeah.
How long did it take before you felt cancer free?
A long time. And some people would even say, oh, like now you can get back to normal. And it's like, you're never going back to normal. You just aren't. And so it's more of learning what the new normal is. And the new normal right after cancer was nerve-wracking for me because I found a lump under my arm, and then that's panic of, okay, the cancer's back and it's spread.
And your knee hurts, and then you got a cold and
pain,
everything.
Makes you think, is it my cancer? Is my cancer back? And so that's a mental challenge that all cancer patients have to try to get through. And that happened for years. I don't really recall like any one defined, like, okay, I know when I made it to 5 years, and the doctor said, okay, technically, medically, you're cured. That was a big, milestone there. And I think the longer that time progresses, the less you think about it. It's always in the back of your head, but obviously hitting that 5-year mark was a big milestone.
Yeah. So you talked about, that you're a strong, invincible woman and you can do it all yourself, but that you realize that, accepting some help along the way, maybe first from your mom and then from friends, and then kind of is like, well, this is very nice. And your perspective is realizing that you got through this not just by yourself, but with the help of others. Then I think I'm hearing you say that has led you to wanting to pay it forward, that you recognize.
Yeah, my one friend that brought me dinner, her name's Dion. So she, as I was looking back, I was thinking, boy, I wish every cancer patient had a Dion because it was so helpful to me. And then I think I was really astonished by the how much I had to figure out on my own, especially with breast cancer. You would think with all of the pink ribbon stuff. Like if you're going to get any type of cancer, like breast cancer is the best kind to have, you know, because it's very well promoted. And I had to figure out so much on my own. Medical information obviously was delivered by my physician, but you have to practically like live through cancer and the side effects. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm in the market for wigs. Well, do you want a monofilament part? Well, I don't know what a monofilament part is. So there's just so much to like navigate and get through. And so I think it was probably in December after I finished treatment, I was laying in bed and the name Can Do Cancer just popped into my head. And I wasn't really quite sure, you know, what that meant. And initially I started thinking, I'm going to start a website with all practical information, all the things that I had to figure out on my own. I want to deliver it so that people don't have to struggle like I did to like figure things out or happen to talk to the right person who told me, you know, something to help me out. And like practical things that you can take to chemo, you know, just to make, you know, if you wear a button up, you don't have to take your shirt off to access your port, like simple things like that. And so at first that's what I thought. I'll start the website, and then, you know, the meals came into play in probably over the next couple of weeks. The 4 services that we decided on kind of came to fruition. And I think we've got a video, I think, that kind of
why don't
shows
we go to that
the 4 services that Can Do Cancer offers.
Hoping you take that.
Can Do Cancer provides non-medical support to local breast cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. We provide dinner to patients and their family on the day that they receive chemotherapy. We also offer house cleaning services once a month during chemotherapy. We also have a website with practical information to help women prepare for and navigate through treatment. And the 4th service that we offer is motivational support. And basically what we do is when a patient enrolls, we match them with a patient partner who is a breast cancer survivor. And that person serves as a resource to that individual their entire time throughout treatment.
Great. So to summarize, the 4 things that Can Do Cancer provides: meals,
Yep.
and some house cleaning,
Yes.
a website with practical information, and then the motivational support with the one-on-one.
Yeah, because I was 35 when I was diagnosed, and you don't know a lot of 35-year-olds with cancer. And so I wanted someone to be matched with every patient that would stay the entire treatment, the entire cycle of, you know, because like you said, it was a 6-month period. And I think no ill will from anybody, but, you know, there was a lot of reaching out to me initially upon diagnosis, and then everyone kind of goes about their business, and nothing against them because you don't know any different. But when you're going through cancer, you realize how long it is, and you know, the support filters off very quickly. And so it was important for me to match someone with a breast cancer diagnosis with a breast cancer survivor who would stay with them the entire time through treatment to act as a resource, so that, you know, some of the practical things that come up, they can either get it on our website or they can reach out to their patient partner and ask, you know, okay, this is happening to me, you know, did this happen to you, and how did you deal with it?
And obviously you created these services with the firsthand experience of what's necessary, what would be beneficial. Maybe go back and tell us what are some not beneficial things that people can say or do when you're on the cancer journey.
I think kind of words of wisdom there would be to still treat cancer patients like a person. I was dealing with cancer all the time. So when I saw other people, I didn't want to talk about cancer. I just wanted to be friends. If I needed to talk about something, fine. But like, I didn't I wanted to escape from cancer because it was just consuming me already. So any type of normalcy that I could get
Hmm.
was welcome for me. And just, again, trying to be a person
Right.
was helpful.
And just be real and authentic. I think some people back off and stop reaching out because they're afraid they're going to say something wrong.
Yeah,
And so they find it easier not to say anything than to worry they're going to say something
wrong. Yeah.
that's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And, it's as you mentioned, being real and authentic and kind of listening first and being a good listener and
Yeah.
letting you guide the way.
Right. And obviously offering to help, what can I do? A lot of people would say, let me know if I can do anything. Well, I'm not going to ask for help. So it's better for me. It was better for people that just did something like, hey, I'm picking up some groceries and I'm going to deliver them. What do you want them today or tomorrow? That type of approach was better for me personally, because if people just said like, let me know what I can do to help, like I'm not going to ask you to do anything.
Right. How about the various medical teams without names? What are some like some coaching that you could give medical offices on how to be more patient centered and responsive to patients' needs?
I think initially, and I understand it because the medical teams are dealing with it every day, but it's very scary and it's a life-changing experience for each and every patient that comes in there. And I think when I first went in, I mean, you just feel like a number, like you're getting cranked in and cranked out. Now, over time, I got to know my medical team and that changed. But at the very beginning, I don't know, that it just felt like, because I kind of got lost with the trial that I was trying to get into. I was supposed to be called if I could, get into it, and I was supposed to go to another, to, I think, get blood works or something drawn. Well, no one called me, so then I went thinking that I was going to start chemo that day, and that was not the case because I had qualified to get into the trial. So now I had to wait to get my blood drawn and start chemo the next week. So that was just a frustrating experience at the get-go. It's like, okay,
You got it all geared up. Okay, this is it.
this is it. And
I'm gonna
my kids were supposed to have the twins were supposed to have their 7th birthday party that weekend. And so I had arranged for my mom and my mother-in-law to manage the party in case I wasn't feeling well. And, I'm all prepared and hyped up that, okay, today I'm going to go see my doctor and then I'm going to start chemo, which is a big mental, thing to prepare yourself for. And then to go and be like, oh no, we're not going to start today because you do qualify for the trial. Oh, sorry, we didn't call you, but we need to get blood work and we'll start you next week. Like that was a little bit of a challenge for me. But I really did get to know my medical team and they're great people. So, but it's
especially at the beginning, I think a good point. We really need to invest more to allow more time at the very beginning for listening, for developing the relationship, for getting to know the patients, their desires, their likes and dislikes, and establish that relationship.
And my surgeon was amazing. He got it. And he, even like after I got through my surgeries, like I said, when I found that kind of the lump under my armpit, I called and he got it. He's like, I'll come in. I'm in surgery, so I can't tell you what time it's going to be, but I was okay with sitting in his office, just knowing that he would get to me when he could. And so he was amazing. And he got it. And I wish all physicians were that great.
Yeah.
Not saying they're not great, but there are better ones than others.
Let's talk a little bit about back to your family. So, just to what extent, I mean, you want to share anything about the relationship with your husband and how did that? I mean, now he says he doesn't love you and you're starting 6 months of cancer treatment with 2 6-year-olds and an 8-year-old.
Yeah, it
And
was a challenge.
how did you negotiate that partnership?
We kind of took my diagnosis as maybe an opportunity that we should try to work on the relationship. And so as I was going through and dealing with cancer, I was also coping with a failing marriage. And we actually tried for years. And so I gave it my all, and ultimately, ended up getting divorced. But yeah, it was a challenge because I don't really feel like I could fully focus on just getting through cancer because I was trying to keep my marriage intact and my family intact. So it was a very stressful time.
And clearly you have courage, stamina, grit beyond what you ever would have imagined.
You have to.
Yeah.
You're not given a choice.
You don't know what you're capable of doing until,
you have to.
until you reach above and beyond what you think you can do.
Yeah.
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 And so then obviously your experience, your understanding that even super strong, smart, capable women benefit by having support along the way. You took the knowledge you learned from your cancer journey and kind of the gratitude that you had for everyone that had helped you. And as you said, are paying it forward. What was it like to come up with this idea of a 501c3 and then actually put it together and start fundraising and then getting volunteers? And I mean, it's not something that just happens.
I really feel like my schooling and my work experience leading up to this actually trained me for doing this. So I kind of feel like things happen for a reason.
Because you have business and marketing background, and now you've got this passion to create something.
Well, I had been working with a number of nonprofits. I was in the corporate world right out of college, and then after I had my 3 kids, realized that I needed to do something different in order to be the type of mom that I wanted to be, and I wanted to be available and to take my kids to preschool and, things like that. And so I started doing kind of some consulting work and ended up basically running a number of small nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
And so I had seen that world. And like I said, I think that everything leading up to that time prepared me for starting Can Do Cancer. And so I didn't know everything, but I knew enough in order to get things started, and I had people that I could reach out to help with areas to get the organization up and running. And we, in 2012 is when we actually, formed the 501c3, and we didn't have any money. I used my own money to any fees that I had to pay to start the organization. And then we decided, actually, I used 2012 to kind of assemble our board of directors and reached out to, people that I knew. I tried to get a well-diversified board, so someone with a background in everything that we might possibly need so that we didn't have to pay for anything. And then we decided to have a fundraising event that fall, and we had an accessory swap at my church, and we raised, I should look this up, but I think we raised like $7,000, $7,000 or $8,000, give or take, which is amazing because we actually had sponsors of our event, just from my thought of saying, I'm going to start this organization. So I applaud those first few sponsors,
Right.
Who believed in me and us for starting the organization. And so we raised that $7,000, and that was enough to get us started. And so we thought we would start a pilot program where we would just take a few patients on and kind of run them through our processes to make sure everything was working how it should and make any modifications that we needed. And the program really went pretty smoothly. And so in 2013, I met with both hospitals, let them know that we were opening the program up to anyone who gets chemotherapy at either of the cancer centers. And and we just kind of organically have grown. I think the first year we helped like 6 patients. And then every year from then, we've just continued to increase. And I think we're around 130 per year. COVID, we dipped a little bit, but we still had pretty high numbers of enrollment even when COVID first hit. And we had to adapt and meet with patients via Zoom and things like that. But despite COVID, people were still getting cancer and needing help.
What are some lessons learned in creating Can Do Cancer? What were some missteps that that caused you to change, and what part of Can Do Cancer do you think has provided the most benefit for the most people?
Okay, that's a lot of questions. You might have to help me
Okay,
remember that one. But
number one, pitfalls, some things that didn't work out, or just some things you learned along the way about starting a 501c3 and getting it going.
honestly, it has not been difficult. And
Okay.
that's again where I feel like this was meant
Your
to
life
be.
experience up to this.
Because we had some challenges with, like, for example, our board, we wanted someone like focused on fundraising. And it took us a long time to find that person. We finally have, but it felt like if we had a need, the right person or the right thing kind of came along at the right time
Mhm.
and fell into place. That's why I feel so strongly that it was supposed to. I mean, I was supposed to get cancer and I was supposed to start Can Do Cancer because things really have gone very smoothly with the organization. Okay, what was the next question?
What part of all of the programs, so you mentioned the 4, do you think has had the most meaningful impact on the patients you serve?
I think it's dependent on the patient. We let each patient select what services they want. So some just want house cleaning, some just want meals, some want the whole package, some want a patient partner, and some don't, and that's fine. Early on, we as a board discussed like, how are we gonna, do we just give everybody all 4 services? And we thought, no, let's let them choose. And so the enrollment process is very easy. They choose what they want. And a lot of times, I think the surprising part of it, the patient partner program, I think probably has been more beneficial than maybe what I thought it might be. And I think many times patients up front think that they don't need that. And when they're matched with a patient partner, they realize the benefit of having someone that they can talk to about anything, because they get it. And, even when you have a supportive friend and family network, they haven't had cancer. And so having kind of an outside person to talk, very openly about what you're going through has been very beneficial. And I think one thing that I wasn't really anticipating is that the patient partners who are survivors helping, current cancer patients, the program has actually really benefited them. And I found, it was helpful for me to heal from my experience to be able to help other people heal from their experience.
Right. So those partners' lives are enriched by being able to help others. I would imagine that the partners are often individuals who benefited from your program when they were in the midst of their
and that's where we've
chemotherapy.
kind of had really organic growth because at first our patient partners was our board members. And as people started going through our program and seeing how beneficial it was for them, then when they got done with treatment, they wanted to give back. So we've just kind of organically grown. And I think we have a video actually featuring some of our patients and their patient partners that we could probably play now.
When you are first diagnosed with cancer, you don't know anything about it. You're not expecting it, you're overwhelmed, you have so many questions, and it was so wonderful to just sit down and meet with a person that had already gone through the experience.
At the first meeting, we connected on our diagnosis, what she went through, what I was going to go through.
What is life going to look like for the next, year? How am I going to do all this? Tired from chemo, and how was I going to go through this journey and have to be able to keep up with those, home duties of, I did all the cooking, I did all the cleaning. So it was nice. Can Do Cancer just kind of helped to take that off my plate. It was hard to kind of say, that I had to kind of step back and I had to play patient. I had to I'm going to get emotional a little bit. I had to let other people, do things for me.
I had been pretty down. I have 2 kids at home, and I had just been laying on the couch, TV on, just laying on the couch, feeling sorry for myself maybe. And then little Miss Spunky, Tracy, shows up and says, "Come on, we're going somewhere. Get off the couch." And I believe she opened my curtains that day because I was sitting in the dark. I don't know if I just needed that extra push, and that's just what I needed. I saw the impact that it made on me and my life, having Can Do Cancer and Tracy come into my life, and it was just like lift me up in spirit. And so I wanted to give back. I was very excited to meet May because I was really gung-ho, because knowing how my patient partner helped me, I was looking forward to passing it on and giving back and helping someone else.
And I found Can Do Cancer off the website. I was just hungry for information, just wanted to know what was happening. And I saw the opportunity to have a patient partner, and I just know that people need to help people, and that bond of going through something with somebody else can be so important. I thought, this might be something that might help me without putting this burden on my family. Somebody who's been through it and can help. And so Carla called me, and I think our first time we were on the phone for, a good hour.
Oh, absolutely.
And we just chatted it up.
Since I've been a patient and a patient partner, just going to Can Do Cancer meetings with other people in the same journey of life that I have gone through has been really helpful. I call these people my breast friends now, and we're here to support each other, encourage each other, and give each other hope.
I just want to thank you because you were there on days when I needed it.
And you know what? I have a new breast friend. Love her to death, and pray for her and cross my fingers for her and wish for her all the time.
It's a friendship that I wouldn't have experienced had it not been for Can Do Cancer, and it's made it. I have a lifelong friend now.
Right, exactly. So. And we just, you have no idea the bond that you have with the Can Do Cancer women. It's just a really neat bond.
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Love the circularity of the story. Carla, who's being helped, and you have to think that she must have really grown tremendously in her cancer during her cancer journey.
Right.
To have experienced the lows and the maybe the bit of depression, and then to come out of it with this sense of wanting to give back.
Yeah.
And then the way she just lights up when she's now the partner serving someone else.
Yeah.
It
It's
has
very
to be
cool.
That's very cool. And the other thing that comes out clearly is just the emotional intensity that comes from the relationships
Absolutely.
that develop, this shared sisterhood, breast friends. I mean, the understanding of knowing the journey that you've been through.
Yeah, it's a club that no one wants to be a part of.
Yeah.
The Cancer Club.
And one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of the individuals you serve have chemotherapy as part of their journey.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's obviously many different types of cancer journeys, and some are fortunately just a little bit of surgery and that's it, and some run the gamut of surgery and chemotherapy and radiation, and then 5 years of anti-estrogen pills.
Yes.
And there's many difference, but this understanding that the chemotherapy part of the journey is this cyclical feeling lousy on a cyclical basis for many months.
And progressively worse.
Uh-huh.
You start chemo and you're, as time goes by, you just get more and more beat down. And so, it was important for us to help patients their entire time through treatment. And, we've had patients that have their cancer has come back, and we help them again a second or third time, because cancer's hard no matter how many times.
Yeah, once you've had cancer, unfortunately, it's not a guarantee that you're done.
Yeah, so we allow our patients to re-enroll if the cancer comes back, and chemo's part of the treatment plan.
So, Molly, back to your personal journey. And you've answered this, but I'll give you a chance to highlight what has cancer taught you, and how do you live your life differently today than you did before you heard those words, "You have cancer"?
I think cancer taught me just to be a stronger person. I think you have a whole different perspective on life after having cancer. There's no quicker way to kind of put your priorities in place. And the further out that I sometimes even get frustrated with myself, because you get caught up with, work responsibilities and volunteer responsibilities. And what's most important to you is your family and your friends. And, life just throws all these responsibilities and commitments at you. And so sometimes I will catch myself,
Hey, Molly, didn't you learn something?
I learned, yes. And so, but it actually is a gift. That is one of the gifts of cancer, is it really teaches you what's important in life. And if your kids want to wear mismatched socks to school and it makes them feel good, let them. Who cares what other people think? Just the important things in life become very, very crystal clear.
So we're going to have a bit of a shared experience this summer.
Yes.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So Molly is going to be on the Above and Beyond Cancer journey this summer, and we're going to have an experience in Wyoming with a little bit. We always promise everyone who comes on our journey a bit of adversity and a bit of suffering. So we'll be doing some camping.
I don't think the suffering was part of the enrollment
process. It is. No, we've got to change that brochure, because we guarantee suffering. So we'll be camping and staying in little pup tents and roughing it, and then challenging ourselves physically with some hiking in Yellowstone and Grand Tetons.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Wyoming?
No, I am so excited.
Really?
Because I've followed Above and Beyond Cancer for, I think we started our organizations around the same time frame.
Yes.
And I've followed it and have wanted to participate in some of the trips, but, I'm divorced now. And so, I don't have 3 weeks, to go on a trip. And so I was thrilled to find out that this year was 1 week within the US. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I am going to miss my twins' 18th birthday. And I got asked about that. And so I told the twin that asked me, I said, if it means a lot for you, for me to stay back and not do this, you'll feel sad that I'm gone, I won't do it. And she said, no, that you should do it. So now we have to do a big celebration either before or after.
Yes. Well, good. I'm so glad that your children have learned, that maturity, and also to offer you the opportunity for something, because You're right. You can celebrate a week earlier, a week late,
Yeah,
and they might even get more out of it. You know,
they might get more out of it.
I'm sure they'll have other families and friends who'll do the day up, and they may get more birthday parties out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there challenges that you've accepted now because you understand, sort of the strength that you've always had within you that's just come forward with all that you've done? Not to mention, 6-on-6 basketball and a cancer journey and a divorce and, business challenges that you've had. What about COVID? How has COVID challenged you? Personally, family-wise, business-wise, and organizational? I mean, can do.
My life is very busy with kids and activities, and I have a very demanding job. And so the initial 16-day shutdown of COVID was actually welcome for me. I told my boss that COVID is what was missing from my life because all activities were shut down, and I actually just stayed at home. I worked from home. I saved the time on the commute. My kids' activities were all canceled, and it was a nice breath of fresh air. And obviously it's had very negative consequences, so I don't want to minimize that. But I think there's been a lot of good things that have come from COVID that, you also look at cancer, and many good things come from cancer too. And some of the adjustments that we had to make during COVID have actually been really positive things in the workforce. Realizing it's okay for people to work from home. They still get their job done. When I work from home, I'm actually more productive because I have less distractions. And so that I think has been a positive. We do auctions. So at the beginning of COVID, when no one could really come together, we did some hodgepodge, had some auctions where people bid from their cars. But we've also always had online auctions as well. And so we were able to make adjustments there. And I think a lot of people are seeing that, COVID had devastating consequences, but it's also had some very positive things. And it's a lesson that can also be reflected back to cancer, because there are many negative things about cancer, but also very many positive things. I am astonished, starting Can Do Cancer, how many people we've been able to pull together, and new friendships have been built. It's just honestly bigger than I ever anticipated. When I started Can Do Cancer, I had no idea, what would come. And it's overwhelming sometimes to think about all that we're doing and then the number of people that we're helping. And not only are we helping the patients, but it helps their family as well. And we do a trivia night fundraiser every fall. And just going to that event it's just overwhelming for me to stand at the back of the room and see, 500 people supporting Can Do Cancer, supporting our patients, our programs. It's just hard to put into words.
That little pebble you dropped and the ripples that have come from that.
Yeah.
So you have a 19-year-old and two 17-year-olds. So during COVID, you got these 3 teenagers at home. How did the family dynamics change, grow, fall apart with COVID?
I have really great kids. So I always say, I got, maybe unlucky with cancer, but my kids are amazing. And so it didn't really cause any problems. I mean, of course, at first it was tough for them to not see friends. And then you get to the point where you realize
we need a better Wi-Fi, Mom.
Yeah, well, we had good Wi-Fi, fortunately,
Okay.
so we didn't struggle there. And my son, his bedroom was in the basement, so he could escape from the girls.
Go to the cave.
And my girls are very close. And so it was actually good that they had each other, because when they couldn't see their friends, they had each other. And so it didn't really cause any negative consequences family wise.
And what do you think your kids have learned about from your cancer journey, their cancer journey? I mean, the family cancer journey.
I think probably, hopefully they've learned and seen me be strong and weather a lot of storms and get through it. It was actually over winter break. I took the girls to a movie, and I can't really remember what we were even talking about, but I was, giving them some advice, and they kind of looked at me and they were like, wow, like, you have really good advice. And it's like, well, I've lived through a lot of things and learned a lot of things. And so hopefully what I've learned through cancer can help make their lives easier.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. So before we close, how can individuals that are watching us here live, studio audience, or watching us via live stream or on demand, how can they get connected with Can Do Cancer?
So our website is candocancer.org. If you want to get involved with the organization, we do our trivia night. And so we always have event volunteers either helping that night of or helping to plan the event. If you are a breast cancer survivor that you want to become a patient partner, you can reach out to me, Molly at candocancer.org. But yeah, we're easily available. We do the one fundraiser, and we've actually had a number of other businesses start coming forward doing fundraisers for us, which is really helpful because we're volunteer based, and so to have other companies really doing fundraising events for us has been beneficial.
Wonderful. So before we close, we have a few minutes. Are there any questions from the live stream or from those in the room? Who has a question for us?
Thank you for sharing. What challenges do you have with your organization? Or is there any?
I think the biggest challenge is our board of directors. We all have other full-time jobs. And so it's just a big challenge. And we also have families. And so we all kind of struggle with that because, we're busy people, but yet we believe in the organization so strongly that we continue to do it. But it is tough. It is tough to try to manage, your career and your family, and then also run a nonprofit organization.
Yes. So there's a saying, no money, no mission.
Yeah.
So obviously to be able to do what you're doing requires the philanthropic support of all of your supporters. And
yeah.
Another question.
Yes, Molly. You clearly have great compassion for what you do. And I hear that, okay, you have Can Do Care, and you have a board of directors. Do you have other employees that help you out, and do they have the same compassion that you have?
Yeah, so we, for the first many, many years, everyone was volunteer-based, and then we grew to a point where we realized that we needed to be able to pay some staff in order to, adequately take care of the patients. So we do have a part-time care coordinator, and it actually is Dion, the gal that brought me the meals. She is our care coordinator, and she's the most compassionate. She's like the nicest person you've ever met. So anyway, we hired her, and she's, part-time, but we've been very fortunate to be able to operate the organization very slim on staff because we want the money to go directly towards paying for the services for patients.
Yeah, I think it's great what you're doing. I wish I'd known about you sooner, but I had a great husband here that was my support, and a friend from work that came during chemo. I was the only patient awake. Everybody else was asleep because I was so hypered on steroids with the chemo. So they're like, you sure you don't want Benadryl? No, I'm good. But I think it's great. And I would love to be a volunteer to help somebody else. Because I had friends who lived in Arizona and other areas that reached out to me and gave me, well, I'm a breast cancer survivor. This is what, and they prepared me for when the hair fell off. I'm thinking, I'm so stressed. I'm going to take a shower. Don't wash your hair. You're going to freak out. So it was helpful. Just those little things that I thought, God, I would never have known that. And you're right, I would have freaked out.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that there's a reason that cancer comes in our lives. I think it's a learning. I mean, I took care of my mother. I took care of my dad. I mean, but I never understood what it was like to have the cancer.
Right.
And so now I have the flip side of that. And so I would love to be a volunteer for that. So thank you for this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So Angelina, you now have street credibility.
Yes.
Yes. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you, Molly. Thank you for accepting the obligation of the living to tell your story to help others. And thank you for turning the wisdom that you've gained in your cancer journey and to help illuminate and help other people. I really admire you.
Thank
You
you.
inspire me.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to climb a mountain with
I
you.
can't wait.
So thanks everyone for joining us. If you know someone who might enjoy this program, tomorrow it'll go on the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel where you can access it on demand. It'll also be on the Mercy Cancer Center website. So please come back and join us again next week. Thanks, everybody.